The following presentation was recorded in July 2025 during the monthly accompaniment session of Phase 3 Batch 1 Grassroots Mentors. The presentation was given by Brosh Amper, one of the senior mentors from Phase 2 Batch 1. Hope you enjoy listening to this session.
So, as I mentioned earlier, we will have a special guest. This is the first time for the check-in session that we are having this, inviting a former mentor with us to share their mentoring journey as well. Yeah, this mentor is actually the from Bachuan also, but from phase two. P2, if you are P3 B1, this mentor is from P2 B1. So P2 B1 meets P3 B1. Yeah, this mentor is very promising, one of the very joyful, energetic, positive mentors. It's like this mentor is also the ano ba, the magnet and butterfly of the group, and there's that oozing, um, that kind of oozing um that vibe, no, very positive. This mentor has a lot of brilliant icebreakers in the batch. This mentor is always the one so quick and very talented and has so much initiative. So if one needs an icebreaker, he's the he's the go-to person. And yeah, very lively, energetic, brief background why Star knew it. Maybe he will share it with you, but more on that. So, right now, guess where is he right now? So he's doing his um master's in, correct me if I'm wrong later, master's in conflict and peace studies in the University of Otago, New Zealand. And he's one of the Ma'aki scholars, a government scholar of the New Zealand. So to get to know us more and share us more about this mentor and about perhaps the scholarship any of you who plans, uh, let help me welcome uh, from the P2B1 mentor Brosh. The full name is actually, what's the full name? Brosh Amper, known as Brosh. Okay, Brosh, take it away.
Good evening from New Zealand. I'm Brosh. My real name is Ambrosio Amper Jr. And I'm from Bukidnon, from the heart of Mindanao. And I worked with Forum ZFD, where Star is currently working with for the past 5 years. And I just left in January to pursue master's degree here. And yeah, I was part of the phase 2 batch 1, and uh I was invited by Noor to share my mentoring journey. And this is a photo of me and my batchmates with MPI staff, with Lorena. Where's Ashok? And then also some funders from, I don't know,
Interior.
Interior. Okay, they were, because I think at that time they were trying to get a picture of how the program was doing. So yeah, they interviewed us in one of the evenings in 2022 MPI peace building training. So yeah, can you next slide, Noor? So yeah, just to give a bit of structure, I'll share a bit of my background and my mentee, the activities that I went through, the challenges, the lessons, and some post mentorship years updates. Next slide.
Is this?
Yeah, that's myself. I'm non-indigenous. I'm single and I'm gay. I worked with an INGO and I was younger. And next, Nora, please click. This is my mentee. He's an indigenous person. He's married with 2 kids. He's cis, heterosexual, and he's working with a local NGO based in one of the provinces in a Mindanao region, and he's older. At that time, uh, our gap was 18 years. And so, but I saw that we were in a Mindanao region. We both had are working with NGO, and then our organizations were have historical partnerships, and we both are working with the indigenous communities in peace building. So at least I'm sharing this to you because, as most of you mentioned, there are differences with your mentees, but you as a mentor and mentee, but yeah, you also need to find that grounding, no, the commonalities between you and your mentee or your mentees. And I think this helped me, yeah, as we move forward. Next, Noor. So yeah, this is just a summary of the activities. Um, I've consulted with my supervisor and my prospective mentee supervisor. Um, we I've mentioned already that we had that existing partnership as organizations, and so I had to inform my supervisor that I'm gonna um, partner. I am eyeing to part to have a mentee in one of the partner organizations, because that would also have some implications in the existing partnership. And I also talked to the supervisor of the mentee just so she would know and what she thought of our plan. Then later on, I talked to the mentee. I conversed with him, and later on, uh, we co-designed and co-implemented the mentoring plans. And I think most of you are doing that already. I wanna share that I co-designed and co-implemented the mentoring plan and the mentoring self-care plan with the body first, because we wanted to have that similar trajectory, because my body was coming also from my mentee's organization, and her mentee was also from the same organization. And so it made sense that we thought of co-implementing. Initially, uh, in fact, we actually started um, crafting the mentoring plan with our mentees. So, four of us sat down together in two occasions to talk about the potential content, no, the goals of the mentoring journey. But later on, we then separately implemented the rest of the plans because, as you already mentioned, we have different timelines. And I also want to share about how I engage with my mentee. Um, I usually do it conversationally, like while like a few of you mentioned about um, asking your mentee what he or she wanted to accomplish. I saw it helpful for me at that time to talk to the mentee, like, what do you think about your work? What do you think about your personal life? What do you think about your um, organization? So, which areas do you want to improve on? And so from there, we tried to fit in those items or concerns to the plan, and yeah, co-develop how to achieve them. So yeah, next tour. But then again, it was 2022 and it was the tail end of the COVID-19 pandemic. So while it was allowed to move around, to travel, it was also restricted in some ways because in the Philippines at that time we had to have vaccines, and we had to get a secure certificates from the local government units, from our own local governments, and also to the destination local government units. And we were living from different on two different provinces, and so that was it. And if we had time to be together, it would be along or on the sides of our activities. So yeah, we had to maximize that. And secondly, we had our individual schedules and workloads. At that time, I was a project officer of Forum CFD in one of the regions. My mentee was the sustainable agriculture slash literacy coordinator. So yeah, he had his tasks and he has his timelines, and also I also had mine. So what we did was that in my project, we would make sure that he participates in the project activities, so that after events, like during the breaks or like at nighttime, after dinner, we'd have a time to talk and to update each other on the the progress of the plan. And I think the third part is very relevant to you as you craft your plan, this intentionality of the peace building mentoring relationship. I think it's important that you have acknowledged the intentions or the needs of your mentees in the mentoring process. But you also have to make sure that this goes to not only the personal and professional goals of your mentees, but also to the peace building goals. For example, I can't impose. I wouldn't say you should follow mine, but maybe it will be um, helpful if you define how peace building is done in your context. For example, somebody mentioned about environmental peace building. Somebody mentioned about designing a graphic design to, for social media, contributing to mental health. And so if that is the peace building context or peace building definition of your context, then you should work on that. For my experience, my mentee was identified documentation skills because of his job, because it also his kind of a side hustle, but also in part my organization and his organization are working or exploring to work with young indigenous persons as they document the traditional justice mechanisms. And so it made sense that it was identified by the mentee, the documentation skills, but it was also identified in the project that we were collaborating with. And so we involve my mentee as a facilitator of in identifying a conflict sensitive but also culturally sensitive documentation format for the Manobo mediation process. So yeah, intentionality of peace building, factoring in the personal but also the peace building needs of the community. Next, Noor. So lessons, yeah, you already mentioned about Noor already mentioned about the importance of the plans, that we need to refer to them, but these are not set in stone, and we have to be flexible. One time we were so tired because, as I told you, like our activity would usually be after the evening, like day one of our event, and so we'd be so tired. We'd have to adjust the program for the following day. And so we have to be flexible, like looking into how our mental state and our physical state is, like the physical exhaustion, like can we still do this, or can we just take half of our plan today and half of it the following night. So because sometimes we'd have activity that would be good for 3 days. And so yeah, we have to be flexible. And sometimes also, like when we put plans, like for example, for me, I wanted to read a book for a month, and sometimes I couldn't complete that book. So yeah, we have to also be, while we refer to the plan, we have to be flexible, but we also have to be mindful that we cannot do everything. Yeah. Second point is to communicate in all possible channels. Someone mentioned about communicating through WhatsApp, through Zoom, and I think that especially during the pandemic times, it helped that I was connected with my mentee through Zoom, with texts, because we come from Mindanao, and so also on Messenger, and so yeah, and even in emails. So yeah, those possible channels, and even I can also ask my buddy who comes from the same organization to make follow-up. So yeah, I mean, a lot of things can happen and cannot happen because our mentee could be busy, or could be um, um, are having some things on their plate. But I think making all the maximizing all the uh, uh, available resources, connections, and channels to communicate, to reach out, to follow up, and to creatively just send a meme, just so you could have that regular communication. And to me, what also helped was that there was organizational histories. I told you about our existing partnership, and then uh, situating the mentoring relationship, just so it could also contribute to the organizational goals that both of my organization and his organization were um, eyeing. So um, yeah, by maximizing and by capacitating my mentee to accompany the young indigenous youth in documenting the traditional justice mechanism, it somehow hit two birds in one stone. Yeah, something like that. And then build relationships uh, with your buddy, with your mentee, with your supervisor, because I also sometimes talk to my previous supervisor about my concerns with my mentee. How could I better help him? And how can I also um, allocate time with him during our activities? And most importantly, one point is to build relationship with their batch, because later on I'll share later, like, yeah, it will actually help you go through the process when you are communicating and engaging with your batchmates, but also after the fact, after the process. Next, Noor. So yeah, this is a post-mentoring years. Our mentoring journey ended in 2020, early 2023. So because I started in 2022, my mentee accessed the MPI trainings through sponsorship. I think he had two like um trainings in 2023 with MPI. And then in 2024, he became a mentor. He became part of the phase 2 batch 3, and he mentored two indigenous persons. One uh, female and another a male. And then one of his mentees served as class assistant this year. So yeah, although I don't uh, claim, that these are my accomplishment, but this is uh, yeah, this is in some way an impact of that. And then myself, next, Noor. So yeah, I was able to be given the opportunity to to assist the midterm workshop in 2023. And then I co-delivered mindful mentoring videos in 2024 with other three batchmates. I think Noor has the link. Maybe he will share that. And then I also learned these indigenous values, which I just appreciated more right now, like the return to community, because my mentee was a long time NGO worker in his organization. So yeah, I feel like coming here, like getting an international education, like this value of going to community and this intergenerational perspective, that if I walk with someone right now, this someone could walk with other persons, and then that could have a ripple effect, especially in indigenous communities. And next, Noor, yeah, let me leave you with this paraphrased proverb, like by watering others, we also water ourselves. So on left picture, this is my batchmate, and on the right picture, that's my mentee. Thank you.
Okay. So that's a very insightful, Brosh. Thank you so much. And now we can entertain a few questions or insights from the mentors. Any insights, thoughts from Brosh's presentation?
I do have, well, not questions, but a very short insight. I think, and first of all, thank you, Rosh, for sharing that. I didn't know that there was so much going on also while you were doing the mentoring program. And I think my insight comes from that, like just how important the role of your organization that you are in right now is, and like allowing for these things to happen, no? So yeah, I think it's very important that our plans are also integrated into our plans and our work, no, and our schedule at work, I would say, so that it's, it happens. So I mean, the very example of that is right now I am having this, I'm here, and we have a meeting here at the other side, program level meeting, and they allowed for me to step out of that meeting and be here. So I think it's the same with Brosh, just having that, being given that space to for the mentoring program to be really present here is very important. So that's it.
Thank you, Bye. Any questions? Maybe, yeah. So maybe think forward and what could be the challenges, or are there questions that you could think of and raise it to Brosh during the mentoring journey? No? Maybe, okay, I'll try to ask. Brosh, during your year, what was the highlights? Maybe one challenge and then one achievement that you could perhaps share.
Interesting. Um, Maybe towards the end of the mentoring process, um, in one of our in our assessment meeting or concluding meeting, like I asked my mentee, what stood out for you in the mentoring process? Because yeah, that's also important. We tried to co-design the process with them, and then we also wanted to include their voices in how they view the success of the mentoring process. And he mentioned about his personal goal of learning how to send an email, attach a document, and print documents, because I told you he was 18 years older than me, and his learning capacity to uh, to manipulate or to navigate the computer and all its complexity is not that high. And so, and yeah, he identified that at the very beginning, and I was telling him, maybe I could teach you when I'm there, or maybe you could ask your co workers. And so the moment he had that skill, he was very proud. And that was a very big milestone for him. And so that was his significant achievement in the mentoring process. And to me, that sounded, oh my God, that's too easy. That's so elementary. But yeah, but I have to acknowledge that, and I have to report that it's a personal milestone of that mentee to be independent in indigenous people's organization that's very low, that they don't have a lot of funding, that they have don't have a lot of technology, that he could do that on his own. And then while I saw our engagement with him in the design of the culturally sensitive and conflict sensitive documentation format and process. So I saw that because that's, that makes sense. It's connected to peace building. It's connected to the organizational goals that I thought was important. And so I included those two achievements in the report, that these are the significant milestones. So yeah, it's not a challenge in a way, but it's it's a like it's putting together different perspectives in how we view the mentoring process in a way that both helped us and our organizations. Yeah. So yeah.
Wow. Thank you. Daghang salamat, Brosh. And I think some of you could already relate based from what Brosh shared earlier. Perhaps you could have maybe in your from your own um realization, maybe you could say you're on the right track, you're doing the right thing. As I also shared with you earlier that most of you co-designed, you co-designed your mentoring plan, that is big check. And another thing is when Brosh shared about hitting two birds with one stone, like his plan, the work plan is actually also doing is aligned with the work or with the with aligned with the kind of the tasks of what the mentee is doing. So in a way, it's also benefiting the mentee work wise and personal wise. All right. So I'm not gonna share much, but Brosh, can I ask, can they keep in touch with you or connect with you if they have questions?
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay. Thank you guys. A round of applause and see you.
See
Take
you.
care. Take care.